This is Kerry Stellar from In the Girls Corner, and I'm here talking to Chelsea Faulder, and we are talking about her upcoming fight for King of the Cage. And you're going to get to know a little bit about her and what she does and what she's about and Chelsea's life. So thank you so much for interviewing with me. And yeah, Chelsea, why don't you tell me a little bit about how you got this fight with King of the Cage?
I was actually contacted by their matchmaker, Josh Lawrence. He was the one that offered us the fight, and I think there was kind of with my fight, I was supposed to have a fight June 17th that fell through, and he had kind of seen some stuff going on there, and he kind of came in and picked up all the pieces. So it's been great working with Josh.
Very nice. How did you get into mixed martial arts?
I I had ran cross country and track like all through like from junior high up, so I had always been like into a very like physical sport, a way that I could push myself physically and mentally. And I had always wanted to do mixed martial arts. Growing up, I had an uncle that did karate, and I had begged my parents to put me in any form of it. I didn't really care what it was, but they thought that it would make me too aggressive and I wouldn't be able to control myself. So once I turned 18, I had plans of joining the Marine Corps, and at the time I had gained a whole bunch of weight and was overweight and couldn't make the Marine Corps standards to pass like their strict guidelines that they wanted me to pass. I could pass the PT test fine, but the weight restrictions got me. So when I got like fed up with trying to do everything there, I found an MMA gym and I started training when I was 18 and had a fight like 2 months after I had been training, and I just fell in love. Like as soon as my first fight happened, it was great. So yeah.
Well, why don't you take me through a little bit about your journey from, your first fight and, how many fights have you had? And yeah, give us a little background on that.
All right, so my first fight, I had two fights. The first gym that I went to, it was a gym that was about 10, 15 minutes down the road from where I was living at the time. I it was great. They had like morning, afternoon, and evening practices. I was working as a waitress, and my schedule was just really flexible. So I was able to take and train almost all day long, and that's something that I've always been super passionate about. Like, if I like something, I kind of obsess over it. So I was training, 3 times a day, and it was all like based on basically like boxing. I didn't really do the gym. Really wasn't that great with a whole lot of anything other than just, I guess, kind of making you tough. And I trained there for, I think, almost 9 months. I trained there. I had 2 fights. My first fight, I won via TKO due to strikes. And then my second fight went to a unanimous decision, which it was really crazy. I went up I think I fought that fight at like 140 pounds. Like it was kind of like the biggest that I had ever been. I definitely shouldn't have been fighting that heavy, but at the time I didn't really understand like how to cut weight or anything like that. So I had that fight, and then I ended up getting married to my high school sweetheart, and he had actually joined the Marine Corps. So I moved down to North Carolina. We had a child. He didn't like me fighting at all, so he wasn't really supportive of it. I tried to get him to come to the gym with me, and he just was not okay with it at all. So we ended up deciding to have a kid, and we lived in North Carolina for 4 years. And then when we moved back home, we had dated since the 7th grade, so things just, when you start a relationship that young and then you grow to be like grown adults, things just, sometimes they can work out, but ours didn't work out. So we ended up going separate ways, and before that I had started training. Before we separated, I had trained, I found the gym Fight Tokyo MMA where I'm at now, and I was training there for I think almost a year before we finalized everything and separated. And yeah, after I started at Fightopia MMA, that's where I really started
Um,
on the full artist that I am. So
you know
yeah.
what? Run that back just at the end because we lost the connection for a second.
Okay.
Okay, so the last like 30, 40 seconds of when you guys finalized everything is where it went fuzzy.
Okay. All right. So once we finalized everything, that was when I was training at Fightopia MMA, and I really learned everything that I kind of know now from that gym, from the gym that I'm at right now. They kind of brought me full circle instead of like the best way that my coach explains me as like an angry redneck that I just like fight like crazy and I just come straight forward throwing big haymakers. You know, that was how I used to fight. So he really like broke things down for me, explained things, and really cleaned up like my fighting style. So like in general. So yeah.
That's awesome. So now what made you, well, besides, the Marine Corps and everything like that, how how do you get in that mindset? Because you're such a sweet person. You really are. You have a great temperament. You have a great look. You're very marketable, which is definitely a good thing right now. But what? How do you get in that mindset to be able to get in there and get so aggressive with somebody when you're so sweet?
I kind of use all that to my benefit, really, because I am a very, like, bubbly, I like to smile a lot, so, like, a lot of people look at me and think that, like, oh, she's a joke, like, I'm not as serious, so, like, it really helps benefit me a lot, but, a lot of mine is, like, how competitive I am. I've always been, like, running cross country and track. I'm 5 foot tall. I am not built to be a runner, and I was always like, it's just my heart. Like I would run until I couldn't run no more. I always tried to push myself, and my cross country coach actually like really helped me a lot with just like growing up. The way that I grew up, I think that has a lot to do with me liking fighting, just from stuff that I dealt with as a kid, and I think that has a huge impact on me wanting to just prove myself more than anything. It's a competition for me. I like to win, and I like to prove everyone wrong. So it's more of a, I guess, to shut everyone else up type thing. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. That is awesome. So how is it balancing being a mom and a fighter and training all the time? And that's got to be an incredible balance, And I know there's a lot of fighters out there that are, wanting to have families and they don't know how you're going to be able to balance being a parent and doing that. So tell me a little bit about that.
That was something that was like really scary for me because when I first started training, obviously I didn't have a child. And then I had a child and I came back to MMA, and to be honest, one of the biggest reasons why I got back into MMA was because of my daughter, and I wanted her to, if she ever wanted to do it, to be like basically right there at her hand, to be able to do whatever she wanted to do. So when I got back into it, it was the first thing that I told my coach was, look, if my daughter can't come to the gym, then I can't fight. Like she has to come. It was just that simple because I'm not like me as a parent. I always have my child with me. I don't like to pawn her off on anyone else or expect anyone. I'm very strict on like who gets to be around her, who gets to watch her, stuff like that. So she came to the gym with me since she's been 2.5 years old. She's been in the gym with me, and I mean all my coaches that I have know that we're a package deal. So she just comes and she has her little backpack of all her stuff that she does while I train, and it works out really well. It's the older that she gets and the more she understands like what I'm doing, it's super cool and awesome. Like she's starting to like help me with my weight cuts and what I can and cannot eat, so it's really cool. It's just something that I never had as a kid, and like I'm just happy that I can give that to her.
That's awesome. Now, how is intense is a weight is a not a weight camp? How intense is a fight camp and the weight cut leading up to a big fight or even really any fight, as opposed to just a regular, going to the gym and training when you're not training for a fight camp?
I thrive in a fight camp situation. My hardest times that I have in the sport are my off seasons. When I don't have anything on the like scheduled or anything like that. That's when I kind of get just like like I train with a lot of like bigger people, so I for a while I was getting injured a lot during my training camps, but it was a lot to do with like my walk around weight, that I was walking around at so low of a weight and then training with bigger opponents,
Mm-hmm.
and then switch things up with like my weightlifting and stuff like that, and I was able to gain a little bit more weight, and I have a phenomenal uh, coach that helps me with like my weight cuts and everything. So um, that after like we worked all that out, it's been like really good. But like I said, I prefer to the fight camp and just the grind of that. Just like that's what does it for me. I like that. So I mean, it definitely is strenuous. It can get to the point where you're like, I don't know which way I'm going. Am I coming? Am I going? Like, what's going on? Because I do, like I said, I lightweight obsess over whatever. If it's something that I'm passionate about, I do it all. I'm all in. So at times, like I definitely need like a midday nap or something that I pack so much in on one day that my days off are super important and stuff like that. But I mean, other than that, I like it, so I can't really complain about it.
That's awesome. What? Tell me a little bit about the gym that you train at.
Okay, so I train at Fightopia MMA. They opened up in 2008. They actually opened in a garage. And then they, as like, it was basically kind of like a group of friends, and then they got a place, like, I believe it was in the mall here in Piqua. And they were there for a while. They moved to two other places before the location that they're at now. And really, I mean, it's just a very, like, it's a real close-knit, almost like family, like, everyone always, like, is like, who do you train with, expecting me to shout out, like, these big names and stuff, which, I mean, I do have, like, training partners that do have a lot of experience and are kind of bigger names, but for the most part, I mean, it's just every day, like, the people that I've been with since I started 3 years ago, they're still there. They push me. That's where I feel the most comfortable, is with people that I can trust. And so, I mean, our gym, usually our practices are in the evenings. We have like a small group that comes in the mornings and trains with me. But, I mean, to be honest, the gym is kind of like catered around me. So that's, I mean, it really helps me out a lot. So, yeah.
That's awesome. That really is great. I mean, and like, do you have any? Do you have any fighters that you like look up to, like in the UFC or Bellator, that kind of give you that motivation that you're like, wow, man, I could definitely do that.
Um, Probably the biggest one that I look up to, and it's really cool. I got to actually meet her. I really look up to Sara McMann and Michelle Watterson. With them being moms, like I really try and take like pieces of their book, and like see what they're doing. So I really like watch them a lot. I love Chris Cyborg too. I'm a huge Cyborg fan. So yeah, those are probably the three that I really like. I have a few other ones that I like, but those are probably the three that I'm like most like. I follow them a lot and check out what they're doing.
Chris Cyborg is she's a really cool person. She's very supportive of women and women coming into mixed martial arts. She's all over my social media all the time. She's a great chick. She
Yes,
really is. And
that's
Sara McMann is too. She's a real sweet. She's very sweet. And I like Michelle Waterson. I actually met her too. She is such a nice person.
yeah, I was shocked when I met Sarah McMahon. I felt so stupid because I had like the biggest fangirl moment, and she was actually at a few of the people that I train with. I train with Shore Wrestling Club over in St. Paris, Ohio, and they invited me to the Ohio Way wrestling tournament this past year, and I went with them, and Sarah McMahon was a special guest there. And I had, yeah, a super big fangirl moment. I went up and I'm like, can I get a picture with you? And then I'm like, oh my goodness, like, why did I do that? You know, and then she actually had me come out as like the drill dummy. So I got to like drill with her and everything, and it was just like butterflies the whole entire time. Like it was super, super cool. So
That is awesome. That is so great.
I was super pumped about it.
Good for you. You know, like you should. I get like that sometimes when I see someone that like, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe that's like who. You know what I mean? And it doesn't happen often, but when it does, run with it.
Yeah.
Chelsea, is there anybody that you want to thank? Your family, friends, sponsors. This is your time to kind of say whatever we didn't get to talk about. The floor is yours.
I definitely want to thank Ian Pemper from Fighter Alice for. I have a shirt on right here. He's one of my sponsors. He's been awesome, great guy, great to me. I want to thank him for. He was the one that like got us in contact. So thank him for sponsoring me and then getting this interview. My other sponsors, 100% Violence, Westwater Productions, and Shore Chiropractic. I'm trying to think if I have I think I have more sponsors. I'm sorry if I forgot anyone. But also my gym, Fightopia MMA, all my training partners there. Jan Finney's been huge, like helping me train a lot. I'm about to go out of town for a week to train with Autumn Gordon down in Lancaster, Ohio. So I want to thank prematurely. I'm going to thank her family for everything that they're about to do for me. And also my dad, he's been huge supporting me. My daughter and my fiance and head coach Johnny Connor, he's been kind of the reason that I'm here. So super, super, yeah, just I can't say enough about him. My strength and conditioning coach also, Mick Roberts, is awesome too.
Now, how can everybody find you to kind of keep up what's going on with you and what fights you have coming up and everything like that?
Chelsea Faulder MMA. That's for Facebook, for Instagram, and Twitter. So I think that's how that works. You just type it in, Chelsea Faulder MMA, and I should pop up. I have a fan page on Facebook, so everyone tries to add me on my personal page. Please like my fan page and follow me on there. That's where I post all my stuff about my fighting. So, and then my Instagram and Twitter. So it should be Chelsea Faulder MMA. And yeah, like it, share it, please.
Great. Chelsea, thank you so much for interviewing with me. And I'm going to look forward to interviewing with you after your fight. I would love to have like a catch-up interview to see how everything's going and all that whatnot.
Absolutely, that'd be awesome. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome, and I will be watching that, cheering you on from home.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Chelsea.
Okay.
Bye.